There has been a recent deluge of news which is primarily spelling doom and gloom as far as Canadian immigration is concerned. Every day there has been cuts, there have been slashes, there have been restrictions, there have been programs that have been shut. But then there was these two programs that were announced last year in March 2024, which basically gave a highlight of a new program that would be launched in 2025. And this was supposed to be a confirmation, or this was supposed to be a confirmed program after RNIP, Rural Northern Immigration Pilot Program. Now, I'm referring to these two programs called RCIP and FCIP. RCIP is Rural Community Immigration Program. FCIP is Francophone Community Immigration Program. Both these programs were indicated last year, March, and obviously after that, it basically went mum. Now, RNIP, Rural Northern Immigration Program, which is considered to be quite successful, and had a run of few years before it ended on 31st of August 2024. But then we never heard of these two programs until this made an appearance in the Canadian Gazette, where it basically announced that RCIP, where the details and criteria for the RCIP and FCIP was announced, and it was included in here. All the information was mentioned in here, but again, there was no launch date. There were no information in the exact communities that have been finalized. But because it made an appearance in Gazette, it was only a matter of time before it would be finally announced. We managed to get a copy of this new release thanks to an immigration lawyer, Tamara, who posted this on her Twitter account. In this news release, it has been announced that there will be a total of 18 communities that will be part of the RCIP program, and then there will be 6 communities, which I mentioned here, which will be part of the Francophone Community Immigration Pilot. Again, this is a pilot program, and this is not a permanent program, which basically means it will have a life of 5 years. After 5 years, the communities and the government will decide whether they want to finalize this program. As you can see, for the RCIP, I have on the picture here 14 communities. I do not know the other 4. The peculiar one here is Pictou County in Nova Scotia. Now, it is obviously understood Nova Scotia is part of the AIP, Atlantic Immigration Program, but here Nova Scotia is also making an appearance on the RCIP program, which is surprising, but it's good to see another county being included here, or another community being included. I'm sure they must have bid for it and then would have been found eligible. But otherwise, there is another community which got added from Manitoba. Ontario communities have remained pretty much the same, but there is another community which also got added from British Columbia. So as of right now, 14 main communities that have been included, at least on this list. I'm sure you'll find out about the other 4 as well once IRCC issues their list. And then again, there are 6 communities as far as the FCIP is concerned. And these are basically, again, I see New Brunswick here, again, a part of Atlantic Immigration Program, but also now making an appearance in FCIP. And then you have 3 communities in Ontario, 1 in Manitoba, and then 1 in British Columbia as well. As per this press release, at least we are assured that these 14 communities will be part of the RCIP program. If you remember, under the RNIP earlier, there were only 11 communities, so at least 3. I mean, I'm assuming there are 18, so 7 more communities have been added, but the list that we have so far is for 14. And then, of course, as I said earlier, 6 communities for FCIP. Let's quickly take a look at the criteria for this program. And I'm going to assume that the criteria for RCIP and FCIP remains pretty much similar or same as the RNIP. Now, one thing that has to be understood as far as this program is concerned, that this is a 2-step process. First one is getting an endorsement from the community. And the second one is, after getting endorsement, then making an application for your permanent residence. The endorsement application is always made by the employer themselves. Since we anticipate that the criteria of these programs would be similar to RNIP, then it basically will be, again, a 2-step process. First, you have to get an endorsement from the community itself. And second would be, after getting the endorsement or the approval, then making an application for your permanent residence. Now, the processing times historically before for RNIP had been pretty quick. They were being processed between 8 to 12 months, so not bad there at all. And here's hoping that RCIP program will also be as fast as RNIP was. Again, you have to also bear in mind that when you're applying for the endorsements, individual communities have their own specific criteria. So what you should be able to do is go onto the websites of these communities, check their criterias, check their program details, make sure you're eligible to apply for these programs, create your account, create your profile, again, as specified by the individual communities. Some of them might have a point system. Some of them might have a priority list of occupations. Some of them would allow you to apply for it directly. whatever the case might be, find your employer who can endorse you, and then using that, make your application with the community, hopefully get an endorsement, and then apply for PR. Very quickly running through the requirements, the federal requirement said that you must have at least 1 year of work experience, which is 1,560 hours, 12 months, 30 hours per week, or its equivalent within the last 3 years. I'm going to assume that the condition, the requirement will remain the same as we progress towards the RCIP. Now, under the RNIP, there were also some exemptions from the work experience if you had studied in those respective communities, in a college or a university in those communities. I'm going to assume something similar might happen now as well. As far as the language proficiency was concerned, pretty lenient over there. If your job offer was from tier code 0 and 1, you only required CLB 6. If it was tier 2 and 3, it was CLB 5. If it was tier 4 and 5, then it was only CLB 4. That is all that you required in order to be eligible. As far as education was concerned, pretty simple there as well. All you needed was a equivalent of a Canadian high school diploma. Now, the job offer is where it becomes very interesting. You obviously must have a genuine full-time permanent job offer from an employer within the community, and only then you will be able to apply for the endorsement. Proof of funds was required. Of course, if you're inside Canada, you had a job offer while you're working in Canada, proof of funds were not required. But if you're an applicant outside Canada, and hey, this is where it gets interesting, even people outside Canada will be eligible for this program, will be able to apply. All you need to do is find that coveted employer who can help you with this. Now, obviously, each community has their own specific criteria, specific conditions, and you would have to then be able to establish and satisfy to the community officers that you would want to live in that community, you would want to live in the province, of course, as well. And if you have connections or ties to the community, that obviously gives you more points and a much better chance of getting approved for your endorsement. This was basically it. If you want to see the quick process, again, just to reiterate, meet both federal and community specific requirement, that is your eligibility, find an eligible job offer in participating community, apply for the recommendation from the community. Once you get the recommendation, apply for permanent residence. Straightforward and simple. That's how these programs are, and that's how they should be, straight and simple. But the good one here is, and the difference between RNIP and AIP, Atlantic Immigration Program, by and large, is tier category 5 are included in RNIP. This was RNIP, of course. I keep saying RNIP, but I'm assuming this would also translate and transition into RCIPs and FCIPs as well. Of course, when we talk about RCIP, the main criteria is the English language, right? So you have to be an Anglophone. But when it comes to FCIP, Francophone Community Immigration Program, and in those 6 communities, I'm sure the requirement would have to do with the French language skills. So if you have been one of those individuals who have been practicing their French, who have been able to get their TEF and TCF, hopefully CLB level 5, then good news for you guys. You might also be eligible under the FCIP. Of course, if you're in one of those 6 communities, if you're able to get a job offer and then get an endorsement, and then you'll be able to apply for PR through that route as well. As I said earlier, it's a good program, very nice program, especially if you are outside Canada. Because if you're outside Canada, you don't have work experience in Canada, you don't have education in Canada, permanent residence doors are pretty much shut as far as people are concerned. I mean, unless, of course, you are eligible under the category draws of express entry. But other than that, by and large, at this point of time in 2025, given the current circumstances, immigration doors are pretty much shut. So this RCIP, FCIP, these pathways give you that opportunity which otherwise will not present itself. So if you have that employer, if you can find that employer, make good use of this, because these will have only very few limited spots, and I can assure you they will get taken away like this. If this video provided you some value, some information, then make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and of course, do share it with your other friends as well. I will keep bringing you these updates as and when they happen. Take care, stay forever hopeful, and I will see you next time.